Percentage of abuse do you think there is in with the people that use these collectives? And because I've noticed the average age is 18 to 30. I see walking in and out of those, and I drive by them all the time. So I'm just curious, what do you think of the abuse, those who abuse the privilege of having these prescriptions?
Well, I helped write Proposition 215. I raised $500,000 to put it on the ballot, and I have been must have painted a target on my head ever since, because a lot of people don't understand what it is that we tried to do. We made that law available to seriously ill people and anyone else who a physician said would benefit from the use of medical marijuana. Now, I think the biggest complaint that I hear is, well, there's all these young people and they're using medical marijuana. Well, every young person that I've ever seen going into that dispensary, including the ones that look healthy and fine, have real problems that they're dealing with, and they're getting benefit from it. I think I'd like to say that one of the reasons so many people look healthy going in and out of those dispensaries is it works, okay? And I am a living example of that, because I am a 36-year survivor of the deadliest form of cancer that there is, cancer of the adrenal gland. I was given 6 months to live, and my doctors now agree that it's medical marijuana that has not only helped me live with the symptoms, but has actually put my cancer in check. And there are now 2,000 articles that have been written about the use of marijuana as an anti-cancer drug. Now, I can tell you that my particular company is focused on a non-smoked form, a lozenge, that will allow us to get these benefits. So I'm trying to work on a solution, and I don't want to be associated with problems that I didn't create. I don't want to see this law abused. We didn't spend all this time and money so that criminals could hide behind the law. No one wants to see this done above board and with complete transparency. No one wants that more than me, because I've got 14 years invested in this, and I want to see it.
You know, we still employed the engineers, we still had all the people on payroll, the whole public works department was out there, but they didn't spend $1, so they didn't have supplies, they didn't have asphalt, they didn't have the materials that they needed to continue to maintain our roads. And I'd like to ask you why that was.
Well, you're asking me to recall something that was 6 years ago, but we did spend money on roads called snow removal. That's done every single winter. We did fill the potholes. We did do repairs, but I can't go back 6 years. I'd have to look at the budget myself, but I know we fill potholes every single year. In fact, if you drive down Glenwood today, they're taking out a whole section of Glenwood and replacing a huge area, or actually, I'm sorry, Woodland and Walk-Up Road over by my house this morning. So we did spend money. One of our biggest budgets is snow removal, and I think that's all a priority for all of us. So we have spent money on snow removal, we have spent it on patching the roads, and they are spending money currently. As I said earlier, if we can sell some of those TOUs, if I can get additional support in the City Council, I'll designate that, if I get 3 votes, to use that money specifically for repairing our roads. But we have and will continue to. Has it been enough? No. Is there grant money available? I think we've been successful in getting some grant money. Maybe we should look at some of the stimulus money in a current budget to see if we can do a little better job. But it is a challenge.
Can I do a panel question, or does it have to be individual?
One individual.
One individual. Okay, I'll hold back. Tom, how many hours a week does a city council member spend on doing their job?
The city council, once you're elected, you're going to be spending 30 to 40 hours, sometimes 50 hours a week, many weekends, if you're going to do your job right. If every person, all 5 members of the city council, get out there and take their responsibilities, we should be attending Lahontan meetings, El Dorado County Supervisor meeting, Douglas County meetings, Conservancy meetings. We have an appointment to that. TRPA, we have an appointment to that. Chamber of Commerce's service clubs. To do this job right, and I used to do it, I was spending 30 to 40 hours a week, on an average week, doing city business for $453. So you better be prepared, and you better be retired. Because if you have a business, you probably won't have one when you get done.
Yes,
guess the question is, why are we so masochistic? But actually, I'd like to ask a question of Liz, because you have talked a lot about bringing a younger element to town. You talked a lot about growing our town with families. And you were also very much a part of the notion that we have an alternative type of economy here. I guess what I'm asking is, where we are now, how do we actually make that happen?
Well, it's happening on its own, and I think to keep it happening, we need to have a proper voice on the council that addresses those issues regarding to these businesses. You know, I'm a neighbor of a collective, and my business, you know, we're able to serve a free community meal every Sunday for the last year that feeds 60 people. It's rewarding on every level, not only to see how our community meshes well together, because we have doctors sitting with less fortunate and communicating, when normally you just cross them, you don't know how their path, you know, led them that way. When you sit down and you have a meal, you create conversation. My friends are starting to open businesses here so they can have the 35 years in Tahoe. And I think that, you know, we have the hemp company, we have a rock shop, we have Guyalicious. These little pocket businesses that are coming are to adhere to the community's needs. People of my age group that want to go out and be able to, you know, get guitar strings or get stuff that they could never get here before, you know, and these businesses need to be protected when they come, and I think we need to be able to give people what they need within this town. I speak of higher education options. Claire mentions a nursing program or a green. We can really pick and choose what we do and what we offer so that we don't become a party town. It's not like I want to be the next woo-woo at, you know, like party town, but I want to be able to keep people here who want to stay here. And I think from what I've seen is you finally get into a job, you get where you want to be, and then you have to move to UC Davis or Sacramento to continue your education. If you want to better yourself, then we should help you do it here. If you want to open a business, we should keep you here and help you do it. I think that that's the best way we can do it, and I hope that we work with you.
By the way, Hot Gossip serves a killer cup of coffee.
That's supporting local business.
Yeah.
Steve.
Hi, Steve Cubby. And you know, Alice and I seem to have a different view about medical marijuana. She says that it's on every street corner. I'm just aware of 3 dispensaries. But we agree on other issues, and particularly I think we have a high level of agreement about the neglect of the roads and the additional expense that engenders. So I would like to ask Alice if she would tell us what she thought of Tom's answer. Tom, what did I say?
Bob.
I thought I said Tom.
No.
Well, you could say another name.
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you. In the city council is a tough position, and you know, these people, as Tom mentions, you know, are basically volunteers, and they do spend quite a bit of time. And I don't fault him personally for the budget mismanagement that happened during that time. I do, however, proclaim that it's important to have someone who understands budgets, who understands fund accounting, and our city has 79 separate funds. We have 38 at Tahoe Keys. It's not something I'm unfamiliar with. I can look at all funds, I can look at the big picture, and you know, zero-based budgeting, that might be a place to start. You know, strip it down. Where do we have the greatest need? Build it back up. You know, those are the types of, that's the experience that I can bring to the city council. I don't fault Tom, I don't fault any volunteer of our city. Everyone's out there, we all have the same goal in mind, and that's to make our community a better place. There is no reason that any one of these people would be sitting up here putting themselves out there like they do if they didn't care about our community. So there is no fault. There's only different levels of experience and skill that these candidates can bring to our city council.
Sure.
Well, Steve kind of stole my question.
That's because anyway.
But as Tom stated, it does take 35, 40 hours to serve the city well. I collect Social Security. I'm retired, so I have the 35 or 40 hours to serve you, and I will. So my question, Alice, is you didn't quite answer Steve's question, is as a mother of 2 small children and a job with Tahoe Keys Community Association, how do you plan to wiggle out those 20, 30, 40 hours a week to serve the city well?
You know, should I be elected, you know, I'll have to address my time commitments at that point. You know, I'm not going to make any proclamations prior to be elected because that would be premature of me. However, I would take the commitment very seriously, and I would put in the time, and I do have plans in place as to how I would make that happen, and I don't underestimate the time commitment that this job will be, and I do plan on putting in the time and the hours. And you know, the first thing that I'd like to do is just, you know, spend a week with the finance director and really understand the budget and really get to the nuts and bolts of the city. And I understand that takes time. So I will work on the plan of succession of my employer if that need arises. I'm not going to make any proclamations or any statements because, you know, anything can happen in an election.
Two questions. I'm debating. I'm going to go to you, Liz. It was either Alice or Liz. You're on the hot spot today. I know. So that's the thing. You two are your friends. And my question really goes back to the quality of individuals comes through a lot during a campaign, and you really get to see a lot about who we are. And we have seen so much good in you. But I am very troubled by the way campaign signs have been handled in this campaign. First we had Steve's signs posted on telephone poles where they still are, on public property, on properties I know of that where owners haven't given permission, and a lot of your signs, and we were all warned about it and told very explicitly and reminded of code. And now almost half your signs are in that same position and continue to be there. It troubles me personally as someone who wants to be elected to the city to enforce laws and to create a standard for our community, that you've allowed that to happen in your campaign. Could you address that? Sure.
Elizabeth Allen. I'd like to start out by saying that I did go in and ask permission for almost every place where I put a sign up. If it was a business, I asked permission. I don't know if my husband put up signs illegally. I do see one on the way to my son's school, and it bothers me every single time, but I always have people behind me. There aren't any on telephone poles. Every property that they're on, I've asked for permission if I put the sign there. And almost everywhere I have a sign, there's another candidate's sign. So I'm assuming at that point, that's a viable area. If it's a business, I've asked permission. Where can you give me an example of somewhere you've seen or if you know of a person who I put a sign in their yard without their permission?
It's not in the yard, it's on the public areas. There's become a perception that if
I have
every
one in the
open
backyard
lot
of
is
my
a
friend's
public lot.
house, like on El Tahoe. There's a property line that goes up to where her property ends. On El Tahoe right there, it's on her property. I apologize if my signage is bothering anybody, and if you need to have me remove a sign, please